You're mowing down free nutrition. That line sounds like a provocation, but it's the plain truth behind today's countdown. Discover 11 backyard weeds with more nutrients than your favorite vegetables. These are the plants people pull out with a gloved hand or throw on the compost pile. Yet many of them can outpace common store-bought vegetables on one or more nutrients, depending on how you compare them. We'll go through identification cues, why each one is nutritionally interesting compared to the vegetables you probably buy, a quick cultural or historical note, simple ways to eat it, and important safety and harvesting caveats so you don't accidentally do more harm than good. Think of this as a friendly tour of what's literally underfoot. Familiar, unassuming plants that in the right hands become salad greens, teas, roots for roasting, and pantry options. We'll keep comparisons cautious, phrases like often higher in or can outpace, and we'll avoid any miracle claims. If you're curious about sustainable food, want to stretch your grocery dollar, or just like the idea of wild flavors, stick with me. By the end, you might see your lawn a little differently. 11. Clover, red and white. Identification cue. Clover grows low to the ground in mats. Leaves are trifoliate, 3 rounded leaflets per stem, and the flowers are tight globes of tiny pinkish red or white blossoms, often in lawns and along sidewalks. Headline nutrient angle. Clover is notable for being greener and leafier than typical lawn plants and can be a better source of plant protein and B vitamins than something like iceberg lettuce, which is mostly water. The blossoms and young leaves concentrate nutrients, so they're worth a second look. Cultural note: farmers have long appreciated clover for feeding livestock because it's comparatively nutritious, and people in some traditions made soups and stews with clover flowers and leaves in times when cultivated greens were scarce. Preparation tip: use the young leaves and open flowers raw in salads or steep the blossoms into a floral tea. Try blanching for 30 seconds to soften them and mellow the flavor before tossing into a spring salad. Clover flower fritters: dip the blossoms in a light batter and pan fry, make an unexpectedly delicate snack. Safety, harvest caveat: avoid clover from lawns that are regularly sprayed or heavily trafficked. Some people with intense pollen allergies may react to the flowers. Test a small amount first. And while clover is generally safe, don't substitute it for a protein-rich food if you have specific dietary needs. Think of it as a nutrient boost, not a sole protein source. 10. Wood sorrel, Oxalis spp. Identification cue: wood sorrel has unmistakable heart or arrow-shaped leaflets arranged in clusters of 3, often folding closed at night. Tiny yellow, white or pink 5-petaled flowers bloom on slender stalks. It's common in lawns, under trees, and along paths. Headline nutrient angle: wood sorrel tends to be high in vitamin C compared with many salad greens. Its sharp, lemony tang is a big clue that it's concentrated in vitamin C and organic acids. Compared to a mild green like romaine, sorrel can offer a zesty kick of nutrient density. Cultural note: sailors and travelers historically used sour plants, including sorrels, as portable sources of vitamin C to help prevent scurvy when citrus wasn't available. It shows up in European puddings, soups, and sauces for that bright flavor. Preparation tip: use sparingly raw as a lemony accent in salads, vinaigrettes, or atop fish. You can also make a simple sorrel sauce. Cook down chopped leaves with butter, a splash of stock, and finish with cream for a bright sauce for potatoes or fish. Because the flavor is strong, a little goes a long way. Safety/harvest caveat: wood sorrel contains oxalates, which give it the tart taste. People prone to kidney stones or with certain metabolic conditions should moderate intake. Small amounts are fine for most. Never eat large quantities raw. Cooking reduces oxalate a bit. Always avoid plants from sprayed lawns. 9. Plantain, Plantago major and Plantago lanceolata. Identification cue. Plantain comes in two common garden forms. Broadleaf plantain has wide, blunt leaves with parallel veins and grows in a rosette. Narrowleaf, or ribwort, plantain has long, lance-shaped leaves and produces a skinny flower spike. You'll find it packed into compact soil, lawn cracks and paths. Headline nutrient angle. Plantain leaves provide vitamins A and C and are rich in mucilage, a slippery, soothing plant fiber, so they can outshine some tender market greens on a per-leaf basis for vitamins and functional texture. Cultural note: for centuries, plantain has been a folk staple. Writings describe it as a wound herb and a reliable wild green. Sailors, settlers, and rural families used it in poultices and as a simple cooked green. Preparation tip: young plantain leaves are best. Blanch or sauté them like spinach to mellow their robust, slightly grassy flavor. The mucilage helps thicken soups and stews. Toss chopped plantain into a broth toward the end of cooking to add body. You can also mash blanched leaves into a compound butter with lemon and garlic. Safety harvest caveat: avoid plantain from chemically treated areas. Pick younger leaves, the older ones get fibrous. If you have sensitive skin, test topical use cautiously. As with any wild green, wash thoroughly before cooking. 8. Mallow, Malva neglecta and relatives. Identification cue: mallow leaves are round to kidney-shaped with a shallowly lobed edge and velvety texture. Flowers are small, pale, and often five-petaled. It tends to form low clumps or spread across compacted soil. Headline nutrient angle: mallow is a handy source of vitamin A and vitamin C and contains mucilage that works like a natural thickener. In recipes, it can replace some starchy binders and add nutritive value compared with plain lettuce or iceberg. Cultural note: mallow was a staple of humble cooks through medieval Europe and in various traditional cuisines. The word mallow gives us the marshmallow's origin because the marshmallow plant was once used in confections. Preparation tip: use young mallow leaves in soups, stews, or blended into a green puree. The mucilaginous quality makes it excellent for thickening vegetable soups. Chop and add during the last 10 minutes of simmering. Flowers are also edible and can garnish salads. Safety harvest caveat: as always, don't harvest from sprayed areas. The mucilage can be slippery. If you have digestive issues, start with small amounts. Pick young leaves for the best texture. 7. Chickweed, Stellaria media. Identification cue: chickweed forms delicate mats of oval leaves and tiny star-shaped white flowers. It's soft, tender, and often carpets garden beds in early spring. Headline nutrient angle: chickweed is one of those early spring greens that can be richer in certain vitamins than store-bought salad greens because it's harvested at its peak before bolting. For early season vitamin C and other micronutrients, chickweed can be a superior fresh pick compared with limp supermarket greens. Cultural note: in Europe and North America, chickweed was a welcome sign of spring. People added it to pottage and early salads to get fresh vitamins after a long winter when cultivated greens were scarce. Preparation tip: eat chickweed raw in salads or fold it into omelettes, pesto, or stuffed bread. Because it's delicate, avoid high heat. Add at the end of cooking for a fresh lift. A chickweed and lemon vinaigrette is an easy spring-forward dressing. Safety harvest caveat: watch out for confusion with invasive ground cover that looks similar. Check for the tiny white star flowers and opposite leaves. Avoid picking near roads or sprayed lawns. While generally safe, always test for personal sensitivities. If you're picking up interesting ideas so far, hit the like button and subscribe. There's more edible surprise ahead, and this channel is full of practical wild food tips you can actually use. 6. Curly dock, Rumex crispus. Identification cue: Curly dock is easy to spot by its long, tapering leaves, with wavy, ruffled edges and tall, reddish-brown flower spikes. The leaves form a basal rosette and often appear in disturbed ground and ditches. Headline nutrient angle. Curly dock can be a good source of iron compared with watery vegetables like lettuce, and its seeds have historically been used as emergency grains, so on some measures it outperforms standard salad greens and even serves as a starchy fallback. Cultural note: in times of scarcity, the seeds of dock were sometimes gathered and ground into a makeshift flour. Many cultures used dock leaves as pot herbs. Their strong flavor helped offset bland staples. Preparation tip: young dock leaves work best. Blanch them once or twice and then sauté with garlic and oil. The texture becomes tender and the flavor mellows. The seeds can be dried and toasted. They make a coarse, gritty grain substitute in a pinch. Safety harvest caveat: curly dock, like wood sorrel, contains oxalates. People vulnerable to kidney stones should avoid eating large amounts. Never use dock from areas likely to be sprayed or polluted, and test small quantities to ensure no digestive upset. 5. Burdock, Arctium lapa. Identification cue: burdock plants have large, wavy-edged leaves in a basal rosette, and later in the season, tall stalks topped with hooked burrs that stick to clothing. The root is long and brown. Think of a thick carrot that prefers its first-year stage for harvesting. Headline nutrient angle: the burdock root is a prebiotic-rich, inulin-containing root that feeds beneficial gut microbes. Compared to a starchy vegetable like potato on certain gut health measures, burdock's inulin content can be especially valuable for microbiome support. Cultural note: burdock is a familiar ingredient in Japanese cuisine, where the root is called gobo and is commonly used in kinpira, sautéed and braised preparations. In folk medicine, it's been prized for its blood-supporting lore and as a reliable wild root. Preparation tip: harvest first-year roots for tenderness. Slice thin and sauté, simmer in broths, or roast like a root vegetable. In Japanese-style preparations, cut into matchsticks and stir-fry with soy, mirin, and sesame oil. If you want a roasted root coffee substitute, wash and slice the root, dry it, and roast until fragrant. Safety harvest caveat: roots concentrate soil contaminants and any agricultural chemicals. Only dig burdock from your yard or a known clean patch. Also, the burrs are irritating. Wear gloves when collecting mature plants. If you're unsure whether the root is first year, better, or a tougher older root, mark the plant and return to harvest the next spring when appropriate. 4. Stinging nettle, Urtica dioica. Identification cue: nettles are upright, with opposite serrated leaves covered in fine, stinging hairs and tiny greenish flower clusters. They often grow in generous patches in shaded, moist spots. Headline nutrient angle: cooked nettles are remarkably nutrient-dense for a garden green, rich in protein and iron, and also furnishing potassium and vitamins. So when compared to standard boiled spinach or supermarket greens, nettles can be a strong contender on several nutrients. Cultural note: nettle soup is a winter staple in parts of Europe, and younger leaves have been harvested for centuries for their nutrition. Foragers and country cooks recognized nettle as a dependable green when cultivated vegetables were scarce. Preparation tip: always cook nettles before eating to neutralize the sting. Blanch in boiling water for a minute or two, then squeeze out the excess water and use them much like spinach, in soups, sautés, or tucked into lasagna. Nettle pesto is a seasonal treat. Blanch, squeeze, then process with garlic, nuts, and oil. Safety harvest caveat: never pick nettles bare-handed, use gloves and scissors. Only harvest young shoots and leaves. The tender top growth before flowering is best. Avoid plants from sprayed lawns. People with severe plant allergies should proceed cautiously. Cooking destroys the stinging hairs, but handle with care until cooked. 3. Lamb's quarters, Chenopodium album. Identification cue. Lamb's quarters has triangular to diamond-shaped leaves with a mealy or powdery look on the underside and a branching habit that can be bushy. Small, clustered flowers form in loose panicles. Headline nutrient angle. A close relative of quinoa, lamb's quarters packs calcium and iron into leaves that can outpace common leafy vegetables on a per-gram basis for those minerals. It's often called wild spinach for a reason. Cultural note: indigenous communities and colonial settlers used lamb's quarters widely as a cooked green. It's a cosmopolitan plant found in gardens and disturbed soils around the world, valued for its abundance and ease of preparation. Preparation tip: young leaves and shoots are best. Steam or sauté like spinach. Try folding blanched lamb's quarters into savory pancakes, quiches, or a grain bowl. Because it's a relative of quinoa, the flavor has a slightly nutty edge when cooked. Safety harvest caveat: lamb's quarters can contain saponins and small amounts of oxalates. Cooking reduces these compounds. Avoid harvesting near sprayed areas. People with kidney stone risk should moderate intake, and as with any new food, start with small servings to ensure you tolerate it. 2. Purslane, Portulaca oleracea. Identification cue: purslane forms low mats with succulent, smooth, paddle-shaped leaves and sometimes reddish stems. Small, yellow flowers open briefly in bright sun. It loves compacted soil, sidewalk cracks, and hot, sunny spots. Headline nutrient angle: purslane is the standout omega-3 weed. Its leaves are unusually rich in alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3, and on that note, it can outshine many leafy greens, which generally contain little omega-3. It's also juicy and pleasantly lemony when young. Cultural note: in Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and Mexican cuisines, purslane has long been eaten raw or cooked, stewed into dishes, tossed into salads, or folded into flatbreads. It's not a new fad. It's a traditional green in many parts of the world. Preparation tip: eat purslane raw in salads or lightly sauté for a slightly sour, succulent side. It makes an excellent complement to tomatoes, cucumbers, and olives. Because it's succulent, it can act like a natural binder in soups and stews. Toss a handful in during the last few minutes of cooking. Safety shock harvest caveat: purslane contains oxalates, so moderate consumption if you're prone to kidney stones. Also avoid plants from sprayed lawns. Harvest young leaves for the best texture and flavor. Older plants get tougher and more salty. 1. Dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. Identification cue: dandelion leaves form a jagged, toothed rosette close to the ground. The bright yellow flowers on hollow stalks turn to seed heads that sail away as white puffballs. You'll find them everywhere: lawn edges, cracks, meadows. Headline nutrient angle: dandelion is our number one because it's a multifaceted plant. Leaves are rich in vitamins A, K, and contribute calcium and potassium. The whole plant use, leaves, flowers, and roots, makes it nutritionally versatile. Compared to many common salad greens and even some vegetables, dandelion leaves offer a bitter, concentrated nutrient profile that can be higher in certain vitamins and minerals. Cultural note: dandelions weren't just weeds to early settlers. They were cultivated for greens, wine, and even roasted roots as a coffee substitute. Native American groups used dandelion parts for food and medicinal preparations. In Europe, dandelion salads and cooked greens are a long-standing spring ritual. Preparation tips: young dandelion leaves are great raw in salads, especially when balanced with a sweet ingredient like apple or pear and a bright vinaigrette to offset the bitterness. Older leaves are excellent sautéed with garlic and oil or braised like collards. The flowers can be battered and fried or steeped into dandelion wine. Roasted roots can be cleaned, sliced, and roasted as a coffee alternative. For a simple tonic, steep dried roots or roast them first for a toasted flavor. Safety showing harvest caveat. Harvest from chemical-free areas only. Roots absorb soil contaminants. People on blood-thinning medication should be aware that dandelion is high in vitamin K and consult a healthcare professional before making it a daily habit. As with all wild plants, introduce it slowly to your diet to ensure you tolerate the bitterness and compounds. A few general foraging and kitchen rules to keep you safe and happy. Always avoid plants from areas that are or have been treated with herbicides, pesticides, or near busy roads where pollution accumulates. When in doubt about soil history, don't harvest roots. Stick to above-ground greens picked from safe known patches. Wash everything thoroughly to remove dirt, small insects, and environmental residues. Start with small amounts. Even if a plant is commonly eaten, your body may need time to adjust or may react if you have specific allergies or sensitivities. When a plant contains oxalates or other naturally occurring compounds that can affect people differently, we recommended moderation. Rotate these wild greens with other vegetables rather than relying on a single species daily. For beginners, a simple harvesting kit is useful. Gloves for nettle and burr-protected plants, clean scissors, a basket or cloth bag that breathes, avoid plastic bags, and a rinse basin. Harvest young growth. The top tender shoots are often the most palatable and the most nutrient-dense. Cooking and flavor pairings to try at home. Early spring salad mix. Young chickweed, clover blossoms, a few sorrel leaves for brightness, and a handful of purslane for succulent texture. Dress with lemon and olive oil. Nettles in place of spinach, blanch and fold into scrambled eggs, risotto or a green lasagna layer. Burdock kimpira. Julienne burdock sautéed with carrot, soy sauce and sesame oil for an earthy side dish. Dandelion sauté, bacon or mushroom, garlic and dandelion greens, wilted quickly and finished with vinegar to balance bitterness. Mallow or plantain soup. Use blanched leaves to thicken and enrich a light vegetable broth. Why this matters? Reframing abundance. Calling these plants weeds is a human shorthand for plants growing where we didn't plant them. That doesn't make them worthless. Many civilizations treated wild plants as ordinary parts of the pantry. Only modern industrial landscaping turned them into nuisances. Reframing abundance doesn't mean you need to give up your lawn or become a full-time forager. Think of these plants as an extra layer of resilience and flavor, a way to add nutrients to meals without a trip to the store. A few final safety reminders and caveats. Never eat anything you cannot confidently identify. If a plant seems off, odd smell, unusual sap color, or unfamiliar habit, leave it alone. Avoid harvesting from private property without permission, and never dig up ornamental beds or public plantings. When in doubt about a plant's identification, consult a local foraging group, a reliable field guide, or a botanical extension service. If you have medical conditions, kidney stones, medication interactions, severe allergies, check with a healthcare provider before adding wild plants frequently to your diet. So which of these backyard freebies surprised you the most? Was it the idea that purslane can supply meaningful plant-based omega-3s, that nettles can rival supermarket greens in protein and iron once cooked, or that burdock root has a long culinary life beyond burrs and nuisance? Drop a comment with your experience, a recipe you tried, or a local wild food you love that wasn't on the list. If you want more practical, safe foraging guides and kitchen ideas, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode. There are more edible surprises hiding in plain sight all around us.